We're going to continue on with solving inequalities, which is exactly the same as solving equations, but if you multiply or divide everything by a negative, that's when we have to flip the inequality symbol. And we're also going to throw in some words, right? So if we take a look at numbers 1 through 6 on this worksheet, it's matching. So when we think about what this says, 3 times a number, okay, that just means 3x. And then it says, is at most 9. Okay, you got to think about that. Is at most 9. Okay, so I know there's a 9 right there involved. But when I say 3x, or 3 times a number, is at most 9. Could it be less than 9?
No.
At most 9. Okay, so it's kind of like let's there's like a Chuck E. Cheese in San Diego, right? And there's that pool of balls, right? And true story, back when I was a kid, the guy would tell me, you have to be at most 9 years of age to get into the pool of balls. What does that mean, at most 9 years of age? You can't be older than 9, right? You could be 9, you could be 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. I don't think a baby's going to jump into a pool of balls. But what I'm trying to say is, at most 9 means that it has to be less than or equal to 9. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. With that same logic, you could say, to buy alcohol, you have to be what? At least 21 years of age. Right? To buy alcohol, you have to be at least 21 years of age. So if we were talking about alcohol, you would say the age has to be at least 21 years of age. Because it could be greater. You could be 30 years old. You could be 80 years old. You could buy alcohol if you're 90 years old. But if you're 20 years old, you can't. If you're 21, yeah, you could. That's why it's a greater than or equal to symbol. Okay, so I hope, well, let me delete that. Let's go to letter B. 1/3 of a number is no more than 9. So when we say 1/3 of a number, okay, that's 1/3, and of a number we don't know, we'll put x, is no more than 9. Now, what does that mean? It can't be more than 9. It could be 9, but it can't be more than 9. So no more than 9. And of course, these are all matching, so when you come up with those expressions, and they're using n instead of x, I apologize. So this one, 3n is less than 9. That's really, it's not this one. This 3x is less than or equal to 9 would be number 3. So you could do that if you want. Letter B, 1/3 of a number is no more than 9. That was 5. Okay, so let me take this 5 and do that. It's up to you guys. You guys get the picture. Down here where we're actually solving, remember you solve them just the way you do an equation. Okay, so let's take a look at 17 here. If this were an equal sign instead of an inequality, and I asked you solve it, what would you do? You'd want to get rid of the minus 13. How do you really get rid of that minus 13? And I should probably say this. You're not getting rid of a minus 13. You're really getting rid of the multiplication of negative 13. So how do you get rid of the multiplication of negative 13? Divide by negative 13. Now, from yesterday's notes, we should all know, hey, if I'm dividing everything by a negative, I need to flip that inequality symbol. So that really does become a less than symbol. And negative 26 divided by negative 3, that's a positive 2. And there's your answer right there, guys. If you don't flip the inequality symbol, if it doesn't flip, then it's going to be wrong. I apologize, but I have to mark it wrong. Okay, so when you divide by a negative, that's when the inequality symbol flips. Ladies and gentlemen, if this would have been a positive 13, then you would have divided by positive 13. This would not have flipped. The only reason we flipped it is because we divided by a negative. Is there any particular one that you guys would like to see? Which one? 18? Sure, why not? So you want to get k by itself. You don't want this divided by 5. So what are you going to do? You're going to multiply by 5. Put that multiplication up on the numerator. Because when you have a 5 up on top and a 5 on the bottom, they really do cancel out. Now what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So you're going to multiply over here by 5. So what do I have left? Well, the k comes down. That's what I wanted. I wanted the variable by itself. And let me ask you this. Did I multiply or divide by a negative? No. So I am not going to mess with the inequality. I want to keep it exactly the same. And now all I need to do is figure out what negative 17 times 5 is. That's the same thing as negative 10 times 5 plus negative 7 times 5. So that'd be negative 85. In my head, I did some distributive property, right? I know that 5 times 10 is 50 and 7 times 5 is 35. 50 plus 35 is 85. Of course, you could use a calculator to avoid any errors. There's your answer. K is less than or equal to negative 85. Some of these, all of these are easy. Some of them are so easy you might get confused. How do I get rid of that? Divided by 7. Multiply by 7. That'll cancel out and multiply by 7. Now, check this out. I didn't divide by a negative, or I didn't multiply by a negative 7. So what do I have left? I have the negative p, I have the greater than symbol, and a negative 63. So what would my final step be here? Divide or multiply by a negative. I want to divide by a negative 1, divide by a negative 1, and again, you're supposed to be thinking, wait a minute, I'm dividing by a negative. I need to flip that inequality symbol. So p is less than positive 63. The inequality had to flip. It had to flip. Why? Because you divided by a negative. Remember, when you don't divide or multiply by a negative, you don't flip anything. It's only when you multiply or divide by a negative. 19. Man, so easy. What's the answer? You want to get rid of that negative sign in front of the y. Okay, multiply it by negative 1. And multiply it by negative 1. Or divide by negative 1. Doesn't matter. It's the same thing. If you multiply by negative 1, it's going to become a positive y. What do I do with the inequality symbol? Flip it. You have to flip it. And the 36 becomes negative 36, and you're done. That's it. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Simple as popping a pimple in a dimple. What? So gross. Okay. 23. 4 times a number is greater than negative 48. How are you going to write 4 times a number? 4, okay, there's 4. Times a number, well, that's just an x. Is greater than. I wonder what I'm going to do. Yeah, there it is. Is greater than. Negative 48. Negative 48. Question. So it's really that easy. Whoa, why did I do that? Let me erase that. So, I don't know. These all look easy to me. Number 26, and then we'll wrap it up. This will be the last one. You guys will have time to work on this. By the way, the answers are on the back side of your worksheet, so you can check your work as you go. So we have a negative 1/6. Okay, there's negative 1/6 of a number. Okay, so let's just put x. We don't know the number. Is less than negative 9. Is less than negative 9. How easy is that? Too easy.